Well, hello, everybody, and welcome to another edition of our Clubhouse Conversations. I am Lane Grindle from the Brewers radio broadcast team. And last time out, we sat down with Sal Bando and had a chance to talk to him about his career in the 70s, spanning into the early 80s with the A's, and then, of course, finishing up with the Brewers and his time as a general manager with the Brewers. And we were certainly really appreciative of Sal giving his time to us on Monday. And today we're really excited because we have a very special guest with us, the Raptor himself, Brent Suter, joining us on Clubhouse Conversations. Brent, it is great to have you with us. I have a special introduction for you today.
All right, thank you.
Now, I didn't pay attention last night. Are you still using this when you warm up?
Yep, that, and then it shifts into Spirit in the Sky. So
yeah, Spirit in the Sky as well, right? Yep, both are, they've been kind of mainstays for you over the course of your career.
Right, I got to give Mike Vasallo credit for it.
Were those both of his ideas?
So Spirit in the Sky was mine, but when I first got called up in 2016, he said, "Hey, I know Tim Dillard, a former player with the Brewers, called you the Raptor and all that. Do you mind if we did like a Jurassic Park walkout? Like, do you have any other ideas?" I was like, best idea I could think of, I guess.
What kind of reaction did you get from it the first time you did it? Like in the clubhouse, where guys kind of like, "What's wrong with you? Are you weird?" Yeah. Or what was the reaction?
A lot of like kind of side eye, like what? Head scratches. But then as it's gone on, guys kind of dig it a little bit, and I think some fans dig it. So it's cool. Kind of at this point, it kind of like gets me locked in a little bit. It's kind of a fun tune to get going.
Part of your routine now. I mean, that's all part of it, right?
Right.
Well, we're excited to have you, and thank you for giving us the time today. You're in Chicago getting ready to continue this split series of the White Sox, 2 at home Monday and Tuesday, and now a couple at Guaranteed Rate in Chicago tonight and tomorrow. So thanks for taking the time for us. I know this is kind of it's a crazy stretch right now, and everybody's trying to do the best they can with it. How has the adjustment gone from your standpoint personally? Do you feel like you're starting to get a good feel for all the protocols and make this as normal as it can be now?
Yeah, I think it really helped in summer camp. Everything was really smooth and the protocols were straightforward. Guys did a good job abiding by them. So on the road, it's a little different and certainly different than it's been in my whole career, but just different than at home. You're not really supposed to leave your hotel room. Just trying to I've ordered more room service this year than I have ever in my life. So, but besides that, we're getting used to it. Certainly the Cardinals series being postponed was kind of a weird, kind of a smack in the face of reality of this thing. But other than that, it's been pretty smooth sailing for the most part. It is weird having no fans there. It's one of the favorite parts of the game is the excitement of the fans and all the energy, and so that's just kind of replaced by fan noise, which is good, but it's just not the same. So it's definitely adjusting some ways.
Dare I say, I mean, you've been sitting in the hotel room. That's pretty much where you spend your time on the road. Dare I say you were actually looking forward to getting on here and talking with me today? Like, this is one of those things, hey, I get to do something different. This will be fun.
Yeah, for sure.
Am I giving myself too much credit?
Yeah. All the Netflix and books can wait if I'm actually talking with human beings, so it's great.
Hey, I want to jump into something right out of the gate, which is I think it's been interesting. What a year to be the player rep for the Brewers, for the MLBPA, and it's a great honor. I think anybody that gets this honor is they take it very seriously, and I know that you do. What has this been like? I have to imagine it's been just an unprecedented year to be the player rep. And how have you been able to communicate everything with your teammates and try to bring their concerns to the table? What's this experience been like for you?
Yeah, it's been a lot, but it's been really good learning experience. I've done the best I could. It's my first year, so I didn't have like a ton of obviously very little experience with the union calls and the group text to guys. I was just kind of a recipient. I hadn't been the sender, but now getting the guys' messages to the union and the union's messages to the guys, it's been a lot of calls, a lot of texts, but it's been well worth it to keep the guys informed and keep everyone, knowledgeable of what's going on. I think I didn't really receive hardly any in my first 3 or 4 years in the big leagues from union reps. Like, it was just kind of, everything was more self-explanatory. But now, I mean, I sent more in the first week of being a union rep than I feel like I got my whole career. So it's been definitely a whirlwind year to be a player rep, and a lot of guys have been saying that. But I'm glad I can do it.
Obviously, there's player rep from every team, and there's guys that you're familiar with or that you've gotten to know maybe through the process. Have you shared stories with other reps from around the league of how you have handled things within your own team and vice versa?
Yeah, a little bit. Certainly the calls provide a good platform for that, but then some texts with the other reps and all that, and them bouncing ideas off the union calls and then me doing the same. So yeah, it's been learning a lot that way. But in terms of face-to-face interaction, obviously it's been very limited, but I feel like I've got to know all the player reps just because we've been on so many calls together.
Is it wild to think, Brent, that you made your debut in late 2016 in Seattle? I think it was in August, if memory serves me correct. Mm-hmm. And that doesn't feel like that long ago, and yet now you're kind of one of the veterans of this group. I mean, you're one of the leaders of this team in many ways, as we said. I mean, you're the player rep. There's some leadership responsibility that naturally comes with that. Is it kind of wild that from the day you made your debut to today, now you're kind of one of the guys in the clubhouse that has a lot of responsibility from that standpoint?
Yeah, certainly crazy to think about, but also very grateful to think about. It's really hard to get to the big leagues, and a lot of people say it's even harder to stick around. So the fact that I'm still here, I'm very grateful for that, and have had a lot of teammates that have been here for a long time with me. So that's really cool, and all the guys that have come through and have been awesome. So I can't be thankful enough for all the great experiences and friendships I've made, and to be one of the leaders now. It's crazy to wrap my head around, but I guess here we are. This is it.
If you have questions for Brent, you can absolutely submit those via the Q&A feature here on this Zoom call. So we would welcome any and all questions to Brent over the course of the next 20 minutes or so. We'll try to get as many of those in as we possibly can. We have a couple that have already come in. We'll get to those in just a moment. Last night, you got a chance to throw 2 innings, 1 hit, 3 strikeouts. Your best outing of the year so far. That had to feel really good to kind of get things going in the right direction.
Yeah. First couple outings, I just had like 2 batters. It seemed that I just had a brain fart on both those outings, and it kind of ruined the outing. And for one of the games, blew a lead, which was really heavy, but that happens. It's baseball. It's a tough game, but last night to finally get a cleaner outing, I still threw one into the dugout on that play, but that happens too. But was able to fortunately keep him off the scoreboard. So it was. We had a chance to win. We had base runners. That's all we can ask for. We're going to get that big hit. It's just sticking with the process. And it was on a personal level. It felt good to kind of have finally something to build off of.
I think what the fans appreciate about you, Brent, is that, you wear it on your sleeve, right? You made that throw last night and you immediately were like, oh, and you were visibly so upset with yourself that you didn't just eat the baseball and put it in your back pocket.
Yeah. It would have been, the guy's really fast. Luis Roberts really fast. So
yeah.
Right off the bat, I had to make a clean play and I still might not have gotten him. But the fact that I bobbled it and then still tried to throw it, wouldn't have gotten him. And then when you bobble it, you're not going to get a good throw off, odds are. So just a stupid play. But like I said, very, very fortunate that they didn't come in and score.
I want to ask you about Harvard. I know you get asked about it a lot, naturally, because it's unique, and there aren't a lot of guys from Harvard that end up in MLB. Before we get into your time at Harvard, I want to ask you this. Where was it if not Harvard? What were the other schools that you were looking at?
I was looking a little bit at Xavier in Cincinnati. MIT and Emory showed some interest. We had interest in both of those schools too. So, and then I was talking to Penn a little bit, but mostly it was like Big Ten walk-ons, like Indiana and Penn State had like some walk-on spots they were looking to give me. But really Harvard was by far the most interested, and I was the most interested in Harvard as well. So it became really good, really lucky and fortunate match that was a great blessing in my life for sure.
What's it? I mean, I can kind of identify because I went to the Harvard of the Plains, like every college claims that it is.
Right.
The University of South Dakota, you might have heard of it.
Yes.
I think they're the Harvard of Vermilion, South Dakota, and that might be the extent of it, but that's fine. So I can't identify. What is it like to go to Harvard and walk around on campus and be in the classroom and live in the dorms? I mean, I'm sure to a degree it's just like going to any other college, but it's so prestigious. It has the name in the entire country in terms of higher education. Do you think about that a lot while you're walking around on campus?
Oh yeah, especially freshman year when you're living in Harvard Yard. I mean, you feel like you're living in a museum almost. Like there's tourists all over the place, and you walk around and like, oh, this guy did this before coming here. This girl did this before coming here. It's like crazy, talented people all around you, and it's a little intimidating at first for sure. Once you get in the classroom and you're like looking next to you and this person's like digesting this new material in real time and you're like, well, I'm not even knowing what he's talking about here. Like, so it was definitely intimidating at some points, but certainly having the baseball team there, it was awesome. Like had an immediate group of friends to kind of navigate everything with and made it so much easier in a lot of ways. And yeah, I made some friends for life there. It was an incredible experience.
You are 30. I think you turned 31 later this month, if memory serves me right. So, I mean, guys and gals that you went to school with at Harvard, they're out now. They've accomplished some things. Mm-hmm. Who you're a Major League Baseball player, so you have, a pretty good story to tell. But who of your classmates, somebody that you remember, has gone on and accomplished something incredible? I mean, have you had some like, oh man, I can't believe they've already done this?
Yeah, I've had quite a few. One of my really good friends is a doctor who's like on the front lines of COVID right now and doing some really incredible research. So that is most on my mind of like, wow, he's really being a hero, doing some great things. A lot of guys are moving up. Like a lot of guys on the baseball team ended up going in New York for like investment banking and then trying to get into private equity. So a lot of guys are moving up the chain that way very, very quickly. So that's really cool to see. Just hope they're doing it in environmentally friendly ways. But and then, just a lot of doctors too, a lot of lawyers, a lot of doctor friends. But yeah, probably my friend on the front lines of COVID is one of the most impressive, or just like means a lot to me.
Absolutely. Well, I want to get into the fun side of Brent. I mean, we've kind of gotten into the serious stuff here to start with, but I want to get in. You're one of the personalities, I don't think just on the Brewers, but I think in baseball. And you have always been comfortable having fun and being yourself, which is great for the game. And I think everybody embraces that and is appreciative of the fact that you are that way. When did you know you could do so many impersonations? Because you really have, I mean, you have a bunch of them. I think the one, that we have the most fun with most frequently is Jim Carrey, but you do Gollum, which is funny as well from Lord of the Rings, right? That's what Gollum's from. And I mean, you do a great Ed Cedar. I mean, there's quite a list. You do a Raptor physically, which is, I mean, it just shows your versatility that you have. When did you kind of start knowing, hey, I'm pretty good at doing impersonations of different people?
So I started doing them a little bit in high school, but just like, our basketball coach in high school, you gotta talk like this. So a lot of people did his impression. It was a very unique voice. And then college did some, but I think it was more when I met Tim Dillard in 2014 when he first came to us. And I remember Sean Halton, who played for the Brewers back in the day, was talking about like, hey man, if you ever get the chance to be a teammate with Tim Dillard, embrace every second because that guy's hilarious and awesome. So got to meet him in 2014, and about the next week after meeting him, or maybe it was the next day after meeting him, started asking him about his impressions and all that, and he started going through all his, and it was just had me on the floor rolling. And I was like, if I can do impressions half as good as that guy, I would be very happy. And that's where I'm about half as good right now, so I'm pretty happy.
He's like baseball's Will Ferrell in a lot of ways. Like he's really good at physical comedy. I mean, he's funny, but he does great with the whole physical comedy side of it too, which is an underrated part. of the game. And then really you're very good at the physical part of it too, which is, again, it's I think what really makes people lose themselves in laughter when they see some of the stuff that you do. Now, I talked to him maybe 3 weeks ago, and I asked him if he deserves the credit for the nickname the Raptor for you. And he kind of deflected. He felt like it was just more organic that, you guys did this video and it just kind of came out of that. But you kind of credit him for the nickname the Raptor.
Oh,
correct?
yeah. Yeah, it was all him. I would be running sprints in the outfield, and I had like that uphill run going on, and he just every time went, would do like a Raptor sound and he'd start calling me the Raptor, and then I was in his videos, and then soon I was the Raptor. So he has to take, like, it's his credit to take. If he doesn't want to take it, that's fine. But it's Tim Diller. Tim Diller started it.
All right, we have some questions coming in from some of our viewers. Rick wants to know, and we kind of touched on this a little bit right out of the gate. He just says, in your opinion, how difficult is it to play games with no fans in the stands? And you guys really feed off the crowd when we were there?
Yeah, certainly at home last night, or really all games, but especially last night with the roof closed, and that ninth inning would have been like absolutely crazy. But instead, it was just kind of like white noise. So certainly moments in the game where you look around like, man, this isn't quite the same, and it really takes away some home field advantage. Certainly for us when we play was in front of such a good fan base. So that's one thing that kind of stinks about it. But in terms of like when you get into the actual game and like the adrenaline and all that, because you're still competing against major leaguers and it's still, major leagues, it's really high adrenaline still. There's been no really like shortfall of trying to get focused or all that. Like everyone's really locked in when we get in between the lines. And so in that way, it's been not too much different, but certainly as a spectator and watching it and from the dugout and bullpen, it's a little different and a lot different in moments of the game.
Yeah, I would agree with that even as a broadcaster. I do the road games, Bob does the home games. And so when I'm sitting there and I'm not calling the action during a home game, it's a different thing. I'm more of a spectator at that point, right? And so I'm focused on the action, but I'm taking in everything. And those late inning moments certainly feel different in that moment. But I have to think, like for you and like for me, when I'm calling the game, I'm not thinking about that other stuff as much because I'm trying to focus on exactly what's happening in front of me. And if you're pitching, you don't have time to worry about everything else. You're locking in with your catcher and you're trying to get guys out. Right.
Yeah, exactly. Like I said, during the game, the adrenaline's been high. It felt, just as fresh to be in there as it did in my first year in the league. Still major league, still every time you step on the field, it's an honor and it's intense. But yeah, that ninth inning, man, we had second and third, 2 outs, and it was just like, just like the white noise was going, whatever. So just it's different, but we're doing the best we can with it. And it's got to come from within. It's got to come from our team, and teams are really doing a good job of getting their dugouts loud and having the other team feel them. And we're doing the same thing, but we could be even better.
Troy asks, and he shares your last name, Brent. He says, better Super Smash character, Fox or Captain Falcon?
That would be my brother, Troy. And, I go with Fox. He and I had some battle royales with Fox and Captain Falcon for sure. N64 is still one of my favorite video game systems of all time, and Super Smash Brothers is my favorite game of all time. So, I would say Fox. We got to run it back, Troy. We got to run it back sometime soon. We got to run it back.
Chris asks, fastest fastball, and I would add to that, has it been since you came back from TJ?
That's a good question. I think my average fastball is a little bit up, but I think my fastest fastball was like, in the big leagues at least, was a little over 91 in 17 or 18. I forget when exactly, but I don't think I've gotten one up there after TJ, but I think my average is, at least last year, was a little bit higher. So the max wasn't as high, I guess, but the average is higher now. So
well, and that was one of the things when you were going through the whole TJ process, right? The Brewers analytics brought to you the numbers that showed when you were hitting 88, 89, 90 consistently, how much more swing and miss you were getting and how much
Yeah.
more effective you were. I mean, that's the wonderful thing about baseball in this day and age. And I'm sure for somebody as smart as you, you're able to process that information pretty well and then apply it when you get on the mound.
Yeah, definitely. I'm always throwing with all my heart, and so I'm not like just trying to be finesse out there at all. Like
Right.
I just don't throw as hard, but my big key is having late movement. Like that's what I lived off of, my late cut movement. So if I'm a little slower velo and it's still moving late, I can still maybe get away with it. But if typically when I'm throwing the upper 80s and I'm staying in my delivery, it's going to have later movement and just like you said, create a little bit more swing and miss. So certainly velo is not a big part of my game, but it is indicative of how much swing and miss I can get oftentimes.
Brent, you work really fast. Everybody knows that about you and your style on the mound. When did you start working that fast? How did you figure out that this is going to be an effective way for you to pitch? And, what's the most unique thing that's ever happened with you working that quickly?
Yeah. So probably in like senior year of college, I started picking up the pace a little bit. I wasn't a slow worker before that, but our coach, John Burtwell, came in and said, hey, our motto is going to be work quick, throw strikes, attack the zone. And so I kind of bought into that, and it helped for sure. I was able to keep my defense on their toes and keep the hitter a little bit more defensive just because of pace. And then throughout the minor leagues, I just kind of kept seeing how fast I could go while also being in control of the game. And it still comes back to bite me every now and then when I don't control the pace, like that Pittsburgh outing last week where all of a sudden I was like 5 pitches in, bases were loaded, no outs. So like sometimes after one guy gets on, I just need to like breathe and slow the game down. But in general, if I'm keeping my foot on the gas pedal and keeping the pace quick, I can get efficient outs, get the team back in the dugout and ready to hit and keep momentum on our side. So it's really been kind of an evolving thing since my senior year of college.
You faced Judge in 2017 at Yankee Stadium, and it's one of my favorite at-bats that I've ever called because you were really good that day, and you were giving the Yankees all sorts of issues, and you could just tell, you could physically see it, their body language. They were not comfortable with how quickly you were working, and Judge just finally decided, I'm not getting out of the box, and he just stayed in there, and he never really moved. And it was like two young kids playing the game on the sandlot again. It's what it felt like. It was fun at bat. How well do you remember that at bat? And I think he went 1 for 2 that day. You struck him out once maybe, and he maybe drew a walk once in that game total. But I mean, that was so much fun. Were you enjoying it? Did you realize at the moment, like, oh, he's not even going to get out of the box? This is kind of cool.
Yeah, I realized it right away. Yeah, I remember that day really well. It was a fun moment for sure. Playing at Yankee Stadium for the first time and all that with all the history there. So yeah, a lot of guys actually have done that since, or several. I remember Bregman, my first outing back from TJ last year, the first at bat, he was like kept on getting frustrated by the quick pace, and then the next at bat he just stood in there just like Judge did, and Joey Votto does the same thing oftentimes. So it seems like a couple guys just like make the adjustment and just kind of stay right in there ready, which I'm fine with. I'm enjoying the quick pace too. So the quicker they go, the quicker I can go, I guess. So I certainly the White Sox tried to do some slowing down. So some teams will try to call time, like just take their time getting in there, and I'm fine with that. They got to get ready too. But once says go, I'm going to try to pitch quick. So yeah, certainly that Judge at bat was a memorable one.
Janet asks, when your playing days are over, what would you like to do?
Something in the environmental realm for sure. I don't know, environmental consulting, working with nonprofit or something, trying to help the climate situation for sure. That's been on my heart since 2006. So trying to do stuff on the baseball platform front with environmental action and whatnot. And so that's definitely what I want to do.
I think we've got news that'll come out later this month, even in that regard, that you're involved in, and you're involved in the S.C. Johnson partnership with the Brewers that we unveiled back in January. That is really exciting and cool, and so I know that's been close to your heart, and you don't just talk about it. I mean, you live it, which it is important in that
Right.
conversation. But I mean, you even hold people accountable within the clubhouse on that. And I think that's pretty cool. And I think a lot of other people appreciate that too.
Yeah, I could probably get some guys under their skin a little bit, but no one really shows it to me. They say, yeah, you're right. Like, I should use less bottles or this and that.
Well, Brent, I want to ask you about the spoofs, because the spoofs you've been a part of have all been hits. The Jim Carrey one was great when you did Dumb and Dumber with Hader and JJ. That's still a classic, and it even got a reaction from Jim Carrey. This year you did Back to the Future, and you recreated the role of Doc Brown, which I thought was awesome. Maybe my favorite performance was your performance in the Mean Girls spoof, but which one's your favorite so far?
My favorite probably to go back and watch is the Dumb and Dumber one, the Jim Carrey one, just because that was the first one. I still don't know how Hader kept a straight face with JJ and I was like screaming in his ear. And I just thought it was that was really, really fun to shoot and all that. A lot of good laughs out of that. But the other ones were really fun as well. Just the Dumb and Dumber, just the hair more fun for me to watch.
Do you have an impersonation that you are working on that you haven't unveiled yet? Like, are you one of those guys that's working on new stuff, or is it just kind of like if one comes to you, then you do it? Like, do you have any that you haven't shared with the Brewers fans yet?
I don't know if I've shared I do some Matt Foley, like Chris Farley.
Yeah.
Like his impression where he goes, "Now you kids are probably going to ask yourself, hey, Matt, how do I get back on the right track? Well, I'm here to tell you that you're probably going to find out as you go out there that you're not going to amount to jack squat." I'm still working. I still got to get the tone a little better, but
you've got it, I think. I think you've got it. I think you've got it. Do you do a Harry Carey? Dillard does a Harry Carey. You don't do a Harry Carey, do you?
Well, I do like an impression of Dillard's, kind of like Harry Carey here. Hey, Lane, if the moon was made out of blue cheese, would you eat it? Heck, I know I would. I'd eat the side of barbecue spare rib.
Outstanding. That's wonderful. We got a few more questions coming on the Q&A. I want to get to a couple more of those before we let you go. Jill asks, do you prefer pitching as a starter or a reliever?
Really good question. It's about 50-50. I will say in September, that role I had then and I have now was like really fun. Maybe just a hair better than starting, just because like you're still on that routine where you can get workouts in because you're throwing like 3 innings. And so next day you typically have off so you can get your workouts in and stay routine oriented. But at the same time, you're not just sitting around thinking all day like, oh, I'm starting tonight. Think about something else. I'm starting tonight. Yeah. So it's just every day you come to the park. If you're ready to pitch and you might throw 3 innings that day, you might cheer on your teammates. So the role I'm in now, I really like a lot. But I do like starting a whole lot as well. So it's I'd say 50.5, 49.5 type thing.
Hey, Lowe opted out, and I know everybody supports him in that decision. He is one of the great teammates of all time, one of the great competitors of all time. But at the same time, we all miss him because he's the best. Yeah. And you had the fun introduction of him where you're banging on the drums, and I say Lowe, you say Kane.
Right.
I mean, how much are you going to miss doing that this year now? I mean, that kind of stinks, right?
Yeah.
Are you going to just ever FaceTime him and do it for him? Like, just,
We might. Eddie might call him up one day and might, we're going to miss the heck out of him for sure. But like you said, we all totally support his decision. I actually had a volunteer last night who said if, we still are kind of in between or we still haven't gotten our full mojo going, we might want to choose him. So I might have something planned or like something coming in the works. So we'll see.
Okay. I'm excited about that. I think everybody watching is excited about that. I mean, that'd be kind of something to pay attention to in the pregame in the coming days. I like would this be a thing we would wait a week or two or like in the coming days?
He said wait. He said give it another week, but maybe in a week. So we'll build up.
And we'll know. Like when this happens, we're going to know.
We're going to know, yeah.
So we can all just be patient and kind of let it develop organically. Exactly. I like that. That's great. Audrey says she's going to move into college in a few weeks, wants to know if you have any tips on staying environmentally friendly while she's in college.
Oh, yeah. Well, really what you can do big time in college is focus on what you're eating. So eating more environmentally friendly foods, trying to get as much, vegetable and fruits in as opposed to the dairy and the meat products. So trying to avoid, especially like red meat, try to avoid like lamb and beef when you're in the college dorm line, and then turning off lights, using only the water you need when you're showering or shaving or whatnot, and then using reusable Tupperware or reusable bottles. Always carrying some reusable bottles around would be great. Taking notes, it's actually one of those things that it's preferential, but taking notes on your iPad or computer rather than using notebook paper, just it goes a little bit, can help in terms of saving the demand on paper. But if you're one of those that love to take notes on paper and help you get better grades, go do it. But trying to be electronic with your note taking or with your books and all that can help the demand. So just some things to think about for sure.
Brent, one last thing before we let you go. You were able to be a part of the 2018 run more in spirit because you had the Tommy John surgery at the end of July in the 2018 season. You're having a great year. You homered off Corey Kluber that year. I like to bring that up every time we talk. But you were having a great year, and then the injury happened, and it shelved you for the rest of 2018. So you missed the fun run into the NLCS on the field. You were still there, and you were a big part of things. Last year, you come back basically September 1. You throw 18 in the third innings. You give up one run the entire month of September. I think you were the National League reliever of the month for the month of September, if memory serves me correct. You get a pitch in the postseason. How great was that? And I wouldn't use the term vindication because there's nothing to vindicate there, but just to have that second chance at being a part of a postseason chase in September, a hot month where you overcome a lot, and you make it in. I mean, it was almost like you got a second chance at that after missing out on it on the field in 18.
Yeah, it was definitely special on a personal level. And the players and staff, like everybody made me feel like I was part of everything that happened in 18. And I still felt like I threw almost a little over 100 innings for the team. So I did feel like a part of that story for sure. But guys were doing their best to make me feel part, like as if I was on the field, which really meant a lot. But certainly it's not the same as being on the field for that run. So yeah, coming back, had a good rehab going, and then was able to come up and contribute. I was hoping to throw 6 to 8 innings and just show them I was healthy, that my stuff was back, all that stuff, and then kept getting put in good, big situations. And fortunately, Lowe picked me up a bunch of times on defense, but certainly was able to get out of some jams here and there and throw a lot of strikes. And yeah, like you said, it was a special month for all of us. So that was really special. And then pitching the postseason, it was awesome. Unlike anything I've ever experienced really on a baseball field. There was just a next level of intensity, loud crowd, all that. So that was really fun, really special. And so I'll never forget that. And it was really all the hard work we were doing in rehab was paying off. And it was a special time.
Hey man, we appreciate it. Thank you for giving us some time. I know everybody really enjoyed this. It's always fun to talk to you. And enjoy yourself as you get over to the ballpark later this afternoon and get ready for tonight's game.
All right. Thanks for having me.
You bet. Thank you. Brent Suter with us here on our Clubhouse Conversations, our second installment of Clubhouse Conversations. We have another one coming your way next Monday. Cecil Cooper is going to join us on Clubhouse Conversations, and that should be a lot of fun. And I expect Brent to dial in and watch and maybe ask some questions during Clubhouse Conversations on Monday with Cecil Cooper. Thanks to all of you for watching today. We certainly appreciate it, and we'll continue to update you as we book more guests moving forward on Clubhouse Conversations. I'm Lane Grindle.